Good evening, and welcome to Seven Stories Up Presents Defining Moments, the Life and Leadership of Quiet Revolutionary Frances Hesselbein. We are delighted to have you all joining us tonight at the Stavros Niarchos Foundation Library. My name is Janelle Robinson, Managing Librarian of Programs and Outreach at SNFL. Before we begin, I would like to thank the Stavros Niarchos Foundation for making programs like this evening's event possible. I would also like to remind you that if you don't already have a library card, it's easy to get one by speaking with one of my colleagues at any of our service desks in this building. Finally, I would like to encourage you to visit NYPL's website and take a look at our upcoming 7 Stories Up events. We have an excellent lineup of this season, including programs featuring new fiction, poetry, music, and more. We would love to have you join us in this space again. As part of the New York Public Library's month-long initiative to honor women past and present in celebration of Women Histories Month, tonight, we are honored to be presenting the film Defining Moments, the life and leadership of quiet revolutionary Frances Hesselbein, the legendary former CEO of Girl Scouts of the USA. The film will be introduced by current Girl Scouts National Board President Noorain and followed by a Q&A with Executive Producer Sarah McArthur, Producer Beverly Jacobson-Schler, VP of Product Development for the Center for Leadership Studies Suzie Bishop, and current Girl Scout CEO Barczykowski. Coming to the podium, Noorain.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. It is truly an honor to be here tonight as we come together for this special public screening of Defining Moments, the life and moments of quiet revolutionary Frances Hesselbein. Thank you to the New York Public Library for hosting this screening during Women's History Month, a month that is also significant for Girl Scouts as we celebrated our 113th birthday on March 12th. So, yeah, let's cheer for that. So it is indeed fitting that we are honoring a trailblazing woman and leader this evening. This powerful documentary tells the story of a woman whose leadership transformed not only the Girl Scout movement, but the broader world of leadership and service. Frances Hesselbein, our beloved Girl Scout sister, served as GSUSA's national CEO from 1976 to 1990, and later as the president and CEO of the Frances Hesselbein Leadership Institute. She was a visionary leader, barrier breaker, and, as this documentary so aptly puts it, a quiet revolutionary. Frances's influence on Girl Scouting cannot be overstated. She believed in the power of girls and women to lead, serve, and make this world a better place. She helped create an organization where every girl could feel a deep sense of belonging, and leadership was cultivated in ways both big and small. She introduced a new level of Girl Scouting, daisies, for girls in kindergarten and first grade, a step that significantly expanded the overall reach of Girl Scouts. She not only expanded opportunities for younger girls, but through her intentional leadership, she tripled the membership of BIPOC girls, making Girl Scouts a more inclusive and diverse organization. While Frances was not formally at the helm of Girl Scouting in 1992, when I joined Girl Scout Troop 369 as a Brownie in Michigan, every aspect of my Girl Scout experience, from the badges I so proudly earned to my deep sense of belonging as a girl of color, was shaped by her decades of leadership. In 2018, I had the wonderful opportunity to meet Frances, and having the chance to share a meal with her was a moment I will always cherish. May Frances's story inspire each of us to lead with the same determination and unwavering commitment to making a difference. As we prepare to watch Defining Moments, I encourage you to reflect on Frances's words and example. She often said, "Leadership is much less about what you do and much more about who you are." Thank you. Please enjoy Defining Moments, the life and moments of quiet revolutionary Frances Hesselbein.
Hello, everyone. I'm Beverly Jacobson-Schler, and I'm the producer of the film, along with my husband, who's the director. And you're only going to be hearing from me as I ask the questions, and hopefully I might add a little bit of my own summarization. But I would like to have the panelists introduce themselves and give any relationship that they might have had to Frances. And I want to start with Suzie, because this is the first time you've seen this, right,
Yes.
Suzie?
Yeah, I need a second. But yes, I'm Suzie Bishop. I'm the Vice President of Product Development at the Center for Leadership Studies. And I had the honor of meeting Frances here in New York. I was attending a session with Marshall Goldsmith, and Sarah was there. And I had the, we'll tell a little bit more later, but had the opportunity to meet her, and Sarah has continued to foster that relationship.
And I do want to thank you all for coming, by the way. I really appreciate that.
I'm Bonnie Barczykowski, and I'm the National CEO for Girl Scouts of the USA. So you can imagine watching this tonight and just an amazement. But I had the pleasure of meeting Frances 10 years ago in 2015, and definitely a moment I've never forgotten.
And I'm Sarah McArthur. It's very good to be here. Executive producer of the film and editor-in-chief of Leader to Leader. And just so wonderful to be here and hear the laughter and a little bit of the tears and the relationships. It's just beautiful to be here. So glad everybody's here. Thank you.
And obviously, it could not have been done without Sarah in her role as executive producer. So we really appreciate you for that, Sarah. So the two of you, you started off saying that you had some initial reactions, but you have never seen this before. I mean, between Sarah and I mean, I saw it in each and every edit, so I've seen it probably 100 times, if not more. Tell us how you feel about seeing this.
Yeah, there's so many emotions just in terms of what an impactful individual to treat everyone with such respect and to truly live like a life of service to everyone. And that's like what brought her joy and fulfillment. Just what a genuine leader to come across. I think that was so special and how that hit me. And I also love her sass, and that came through in the documentary, that she just had this like, I'm just gonna go for it and see what happens. And I think that's also so important in leadership, in addition to being genuine, of just trying and putting yourself out there and trusting your gut. And I just love that came through, and it made us laugh and smile too.
Well, it was interesting to be able to get all of that footage of Frances out there. We wanted her to tell her story. And what about you, Bonnie? You had seen it before, but you really saw it tonight. And this is a great crowd to see it with. Thank you again.
And I would actually say, how many of you was tonight the first time you saw it? Okay, then I'm going to tell you this. You have to see it again. Because I did. I saw it. And tonight, as I'm watching it, I'm like, I now want to see it again. I think each time you watch it, you'll pick up things that you didn't pick up the first time. And what was so incredibly moving is everything you captured, no matter how individuals knew Frances or knew of her, there's something they found out new from watching this amazing film. So, to all of you, watch it again. You're going to feel like I do tonight. And that's that there were pieces that I just loved hearing a second time. And there are pieces tonight I feel like I heard the first time.
I talked to them before, and I mentioned that the Macy Center would be a great place to show the film, Sarah. So you're going to have to talk to them about that later. So that might be an opportunity for another showing. I'm going to segue to Frances' style of leadership really resonated with the cadets and with the military. Now, why would she go from being, leader of the Girl Scouts and working with the Druckers and the Drucker Foundation and it having its iterations, and then working with the military? Talk to us a little bit about that.
Frances went through the open door. So when she left Girl Scouts and started the Peter F. Drucker Foundation for Nonprofit Management, that was the beginning of the transition towards working more with the military. And I like to look at the pictures and talk with Frances. It was like the first half of her many decades, the first half of her life, she was working, her career life, I guess, she was working mostly with girls, with the Girl Scouts. And then she learned so much about leadership and who to be, and how who we are will determine, the results that come about. And then she spent the next half working kind of a lot with, 17%, I guess, women at West Point, but with a lot of the males in corporate America. So she spent sort of half of her life learning about leadership, and then half of her life teaching about leadership, which I think was just it's so interesting to watch that about Frances.
And, interesting, Bonnie, then it shifts back, in a way towards you, because you now work with the Girl Scouts, you're CEO of Girl Scouts, and how do those programs that she introduced back then, like STEM and all those ideas that she had so powerfully early on in her career, how do they shape the future leaders that happen to be women today?
I mean, even hearing her through this, I'm like, it is just almost like a feeling of a beautiful deja vu. Like her phrase, tradition with the future, like you can't ever stop being that. And so I think hearing so much of what she talked about and thinking of staying that relevancy for our girls today, I mean, she was doing it. And I love that they even referred back to Julia Gordon-Low. And I think about, oh my gosh, when you look back at the times and the pivotal times, that phrase, tradition with the future, just hugely resonated with me. I think Frances knew that what our girls need and still need today are mentors, which is what she was, the ability to develop the skills, which is why so many of those badges, the ability to actually have diversity, including age, the fact that she brought the daisies into Girl Scouting. I just think everything that we heard, we just all have to remember, how are we living that out today?
So how are you working to ensure that leadership?
So to really make sure that our girls continue to have supportive peer groups, to have the mentors that they need, the variety of the skills that they need to build. And for us, it's making sure the programming itself is relevant and the how girls can engage. And then most importantly, which is a phrase again and again you heard, that every single girl and every family knows that they are welcome and that they belong in Girl Scouting.
So do you see any barriers to that today?
I think, yeah, even when she was talking about it, the barriers to me, like even hearing her and thinking about today, to make sure that by community, with community, in community, that everybody sees themselves in Girl Scouting, we have to one by one continue to overcome whatever barriers exist. And I think that's something I'm so proud of our current staff and our current board of directors. They see it, they embrace it. Watching this just made me like so jazzed with where I know we're headed as an organization, because our girls need us as much today as ever before.
When we found some of the brochures, that was fascinating to us, because they did reach out so that every girl could see herself, no matter who she was. And that was fascinating, because we looked at the time period for that, and that was pretty ahead of its time, that she would do something like that, and that you're still doing that. That's really relevant. Do you have any alums that you might want to
we have 50 million alums.
Well, anybody maybe in this room.
Oh, I was just going to say, how many in this room were at any point in your life a Girl Scout? Raise your hand. Daisy, Brownie, Junior, yes. Yes. I know, because if you're a Brownie, raise that hand so often they'll go, I didn't bridge to Junior. Yes, you're a Girl Scout. So, yeah. So the alum in this room and every room I go into and I say that, it is like 70 to 80% of the people that raise their hand. So today the calling is, remember what others did for you, and let's give that forward. And for those who didn't have the ability to be in Girl Scouting, it is never too late. And so we welcome you today.
Well, speaking to that, tell us about Frances as a mentor.
Frances as a mentor. One of my favorite stories about Frances is getting to spend time with her here in New York City, and going to lunch earlier on, 15, 20 years ago, going to lunch at the Four Seasons restaurant. So I was on the West Coast, and I'd come over here to work and got to take Frances to lunch. And she loved the Four Seasons restaurant, which was a little expensive for me at the time. And so I would come over here to take Frances to lunch and then not eat for the rest of the week. So we would spend time at lunch, and she would teach me about leadership, and she would show me what it looks like to be someone who she was all about me. She saw me. She was talking to me. And every time at lunch, no matter what, she would always put her hand on my arm and look me in the eye, and she would say, "What do you see when you look out the window that's visible but not yet seen by others?" First time she asked me that question, I kind of looked at her with a blank stare and said, "I think people don't maybe talk to each other enough. They should communicate more." And over the years, she kept asking me that question, and she'd always, every time I would answer, and I basically always have the same answer, but I, got better words as time went on. But every time she asked me that question, I would give her my next level of answer, and then she would say, "That's a beautiful answer." She would encourage me to think about my purpose. That's what she was doing, is helping me to think about my purpose. That's what it was like to have Frances as a mentor.
Suzie, you were telling us a story before about, well, actually, you were telling me the first time I met you in Nashville about meeting Frances and how you met her, and then what was the result of meeting her and how you met her again.
So, met her here in New York at the training session at AMA, and Marshall was interviewing her, and I was sitting probably in your seat, and she came off stage, and I was like wide-eyed looking at her. She pulled me in, and she said, "When do I get to learn about you more?" Like, are you kidding? So we took a picture together, and I thought that was a really nice moment, but I didn't know that it would go beyond that. Later that night, we were at Don't Tell Mamas, and walked in with a group of people, and I sat down kind of amongst the crowd, and she was at more of like a head table closer to the stage, and she pointed at me, and she gave me the, "Come here." And I thought, "Oh, hi, good to see you again." She was like, "No, you're going to sit right next to me." So that night, I sat next to her, and she held onto my arm all night, and she was like, "I'm being serious. I want you to come to New York. I want to meet you." So I came up with my dad, and he had been working on a project with Marshall, and we interviewed her together in her office. And you saw her office a lot in the film, but when you walk in there, you're like, "Oh my goodness, who haven't you met? This is really overwhelming." And she was like, "Don't worry about it. It's just us." And we interviewed her for a couple of hours. And then I could tell that my mom was really emotional about me and my dad having this relationship with Frances. And so one day I asked her, I was like, "Do you want to go to New York? Like, do you want to go meet Frances?" And she started like tearing up. And she goes, "The Girl Scouts meant more to me in my lifetime than I can even tell you. I grew up in rural Ohio, and that was like my out. It's where I learned to be curious, to be a learner, and my mom is actually now my CEO. She's an incredible leader, and we came up to New York together, and she was floored. She met like a true hero, and I got to witness that. That was really... No, but I had no idea. Growing up, my mom is like just so incredibly smart. And I would ask her like a question about like a plant or how she knew how to fix something, or she's just full of these like facts. I'm like, "What did you not teach me growing up? Like, what is going on?" And she's like, "It's the Girl Scouts. Like, I learned all of it in the Girl Scouts, like the things that the Girl Scouts exposed me to." And to get to witness her in Frances's office and meeting someone that opened doors for her and showed her more of her life than what she saw in Ohio. And what my mom's been able to do since then is really incredible.
Thank you, Suzie.
Sorry.
Thank you. No, because Suzie told me that story in Nashville while we were we were just standing and talking together, and she told me that story, and I said, I have to interview you. And she didn't even have any lipstick, and so I handed her my lipstick. But I asked her if she would tell that story tonight because it's just so moving. Just like you said, so many lives have been touched by the Girl Scouts, by Frances being a part of this incredible chain of women who have been seminal in how the Girl Scouts have helped women, girls, over time, and Frances's impact on how the Girl Scouts came along in the history of the Girl Scouts. Thank you very much for that. Frances distilled her principles-based leadership in very short phrases, like to serve is to live, respect for all people. You heard that in the film. So if you could each maybe choose one of those phrases that over time has resonated with you and explain to the audience why, I would really appreciate that. It doesn't matter.
Let's start on that end.
Okay.
You want to be the cleanup batter.
I think open doors, and when a door opens, walk through it, but bring someone with you. That happened to me the moment that I met Frances. Sarah, you've continued to do that for me, and it's just been more top of mind as I grow in my leadership role of when there's energy somewhere, like don't fight that. Like go with it, go through the door, but always make sure that you're bringing someone along with you.
It's her defining moment. When that's the piece I think I missed the first time. I think I was so into the film, but the defining moment, the whole thing about the vases, and I think it really hit me this time, which is the phrase that I love, which is the respect for all. And our board president, you all met Noorain tonight, she uses a phrase all the time that has become one of my most favorite, which is that let us be different together. And when you let that phrase sink in, it reminded me everything tonight that I saw of Frances, is that her willingness to let's be different together really means about that respect for all. So that's like my most favorite.
Yeah, I wanted to go last just because there's so many, and I wanted to make sure everybody gets to talk about their favorite. And I liked, Frances always used to say, I have invisible tattoos, right? If you knew Frances, you knew that one. And so then she would say, this one over here, it's Peter Drucker's. Ask, don't tell. This one over here, listen first, speak last. And I would often be writing these down while she's saying them because they're invisible and I want to remember them. And then she would say something like, and across my chest, it's communication isn't saying something. Communication is being heard. And then the next time she would say, a few weeks later, she would say, I have invisible tattoos. She would say a completely different one for this side, completely different one for this side. And so I just kept learning and learning and learning from Frances, who distilled her stories. She would distill her stories, like her story about the two vases and Mr. Yi, distilled it into a phrase, respect for all people. She distilled these things into a phrase for us so we could remember. It's just a beautiful, beautiful way of teaching us the principles of how to be.
Thank you. I, too, love respect for all people. I'm really profoundly moved by that. What was her impact in her final days? Like, what was imparted to you? I've heard you speak about that, and audiences everywhere have had like a really profound reaction to that.
there were a couple, because I got to be with her a lot near the end. So about a month before she passed away, I would always go down to her bed and sit by her bedside, and then I would go to work. And I would spend some time with her, and then I'd go to work. So this morning I went down, and it's about a month before she's going to pass away. I didn't know that, and it was hard for her to get all the words. It would take her a long time to come up with words. And so I went down, I sat next to her, held her hand, and then I said, okay, well, Frances, I'm going to go to work. And she squeezes my hand. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe not yet. So I stay. And she says, are you listening? Yes, Frances, I'm listening, always listening. Yes, ma'am, you got it. I am listening. Listen, I'm listening to the whispers. I'm listening. I got it. Yep, okay. I got to go to work, right? So I go to get up and go to work. So I stay. And it takes her a while to come up with the words. So it's about, it takes a good 10 or 15 minutes for her to come up with these. And she says, work is love made visible. I go, yes, ma'am. I know work is love made visible. I get it. I got it. Work is love made visible. And so I go, okay, gotta go to work. I go, okay, I stay just a little bit longer, another 10 minutes or so. And she comes up with, don't forget. Yes, ma'am, won't forget. You got it. Boop, off I go. And then shortly before she passed away, about 10 minutes, she made me promise that we will continue to carry the torch. And she wouldn't pass until I promised. So I have promised for all of us that we will carry the torch. I left the room, and 10 minutes later, she passed away. And so when you go out on these tables, we have little pins for you. And these are those pins to remind us to carry the torch.
That's pretty profound. How do you think what do you think current leaders can do to support future generations, Bonnie?
When I'm listening tonight, and I'll just say that I get to watch this every single day. We have folks that'll say, "Oh my gosh, I'd love to be involved, to be able to mentor young girls, whether it's through Girl Scouting, which of course we would love, or some way." I think the thing that tonight I also want to say that I watched Frances do is creating moments of time for individuals. Because when in the one place where she goes, she only saw that one person, I just see you at this time. I think for our young girls today, they need to know we're there to cheer for them. And however we can be in their lives, sometimes it can literally be just those moments, and it can have an impact that's going to last forever and ever. To reflect back on, hearing your story, Frances did that. So to me, it's take what she did and then just keep giving that forward, creating those moments in time for individuals.
And what about you, Suzie? Thank you, Bonnie. What about you?
I think just being open to ideas and listening and giving people space. To me, that's what the respect for all people means, is that regardless of your background or title in the room, you give people the space to share and be heard.
Thank you. And as executive producer, was it like to show this to different audiences, to show the film to different audiences?
Amazing. Having known Frances for a good 20 or 25 years and listened a lot to her stories, like Errol said in the beginning of the film, lots and lots of stories, and got something out of the stories, and also developed a lot of relationships with people with Frances. So I know a lot of people that Frances knows. So to get to share who she was and how she led and the impact she's had on all of us and the impact that we're in turn having on others is amazing. And to have found two people, David and Beverly Schler, who capture the essence of who Frances was and our stories about her and build it into, created a film that really does share who Frances was and teach us about how she led in a way that just feels like Frances is incredible. So thank you to the Schlers. It's beautiful.
Thank you very much. What do you think some of the people in the room can take away from all this?
I think we should ask them.
Well, I have another question for them, and I have another question for them myself, but what do you think you would like them to take away?
I would love for us all to take away how Frances always taught us that it's about the mission, mission-focused, demographics-based innovation, demographics-driven, innovation-based. She taught us that it's about the mission. It's not about me. It's not about them. It's not about what they're doing wrong. It's about the mission. And for me, the mission is similar to Frances: respect for all people, to serve is to live. And then one of my favorites that actually comes from Alan Mulally, love and be loved in that order.
Thank you. We got that one too, and we've been practicing it at home. And my hope for you all is that if our film has inspired you to undertake something new in the way you are, and it's not necessarily in your leadership style, it's how you be in the world, whether it's in your family or in your business or in your social life. What would that be? And think about it from Frances's perspective, because life is not about what you do, it's how you be. Who are you and how you show up? So I know I've been taking that away with me since I've been working on this film. It's not what I do, it's who I am. So I know that you all have questions. We have a good 10 minutes for questions from the audience.
What badge do you think Frances would want the Girl Scouts to add today?
That's a great question. Okay. That's a really good question. And I'm going to say one that I think that is confidence. A badge completely 100% on having confidence. Because she definitely exhibited that throughout all of this. So our confidence badge.
We need a Frances badge?
What about Frances badge?
Frances badge.
We think there should be a Frances badge. Principles based. Are there any other questions?
What do you think being a revolutionary entails?
For me, it's like the no fear, just the going for it. She told you to look out the window for a reason, and she wanted you to think and be thoughtful and authentic, but also go for it. And I think that's what the revolutionary leader is.
What does the future of the Girl Scouts look like through your culture sight?
The future of Girl Scouts looks amazing. Yes. Mm-hmm. So I have 5 grandchildren and 3 little granddaughters, and I keep saying we owe it to this next generation to be the revolutionary and do everything like Frances had said. And when you said revolutionary, what came to my mind is be bold. And our girls deserve for us to be really bold for them. So, but the future looks fabulous.
In life, we pass on batons running races. What would each of you share with us? What baton ideas you would pass on to us?
I'll go. For me, I'm this evening really hearing in my head about consistency and keeping the faith, and how all these things happen around us, all these external circumstances, people, places, things, all these things are happening, and to have that consistency of character of who I am. And yeah, I think that would be my answer to that one.
I would say the baton to pass on, if I asked every single one of you individually what piece struck you, what struck you tonight watching this, you'd all have different answers. So the baton that I would suggest pass on is what piece grabbed you, and pass that on to somebody else.
Tonight, I really loved seeing how Frances took the hierarchy and made it into a circle, and that really resonated a lot with me and how I see leadership, as leadership is more of influence. And so the baton I would want to pass to everyone in this room, and I have 2 little boys at home as well, is just seeing yourself as a leader. Doesn't matter the role or the hierarchy or the opportunity, but you have the power to influence, and you have a voice, and just to see yourself as a leader.
How will AI impact the practice of leadership?
How will AI
Impact the practice of leadership.
for me, being in the communication and writing, editing, leadership field, how it impacts it is in some ways it makes it easy not to get too attached to the words that come out. This is just the writing part of AI. And what I love about really thinking and processing leadership in my thoughts and then putting them out in the words is that I really feel it. I really am engaged with the process of the thought process of thought leadership. And with AI, it can be so easy to say, I had AI one time. I wrote an article and I had AI tell me who Frances Hesselbein was, and it told me, but it wasn't quite right. It wasn't quite Frances to me. And if I didn't know Frances really well, I might say, oh, that sounds good, and use it. But since I knew her or know her so well, it wasn't quite right. So I think it impacts leadership, and I don't know if we exactly know how it will impact leadership, but I do know that it does.
For tonight's final question, I'm going to ask, this film seems so relevant today in 2025. What do you think Frances would want us all to do now to strengthen our country and our communities?
I'm trying to think of the exact wording that opened the film and closed the film, but it was like, we're in a time of like cynicism and this like feeling of being against one another. And I know I didn't quote that perfectly, but it is like the respect for all people, like to be in a place where it's not as combative and we're listening to each other and we have an open heart and open mind, not necessarily to agree, but just have respect for each other's opinions.
I would use my, Noorain, I'm going to quote you, be different together and enjoy being different together.
Yeah, and I love what also what Frances says in the trailer and in the film, that when you engage people and they own it, you'll be amazed at what happens. I love bringing people together, and not everybody wants to be brought together, and that's okay. I don't have to focus on that. I can focus on where I want to go, not where I don't want to go. And I think that's probably what Frances would share with me. We are in this together.
Working together towards a bright future. Thank you all for coming.